All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are here to talk about Therefore Online version 32, which is our latest version of Therefore Online being released between October and November of 2024. So as usual with our webinars, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A function. I'm happy to address any questions you may have at the end of today's session. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kono from Therefore's digital engagement team, and I'm happy to be bringing you today's webinar. As usual, I do these in collaboration with my colleague Jennifer Schmidt. So whether you watch webinars done by me or by Jennifer, the content will be the same. So before we get into the details about version 32, I first wanted to talk about the planned updates. So since this is a Therefore Online update, the updates themselves to the regional Therefore Online systems will be done at different times. You can check out the update schedule that you see here on your screen. And of course, status.thereforeonline.com is always the definitive source for this information. So definitely bookmark that site and check it out. That always has the latest up-to-date information about Therefore Online systems throughout the world. Okay, so a couple of things that we're going to be doing today. First, we just have some announcements, and then we're going to go over basically the things you see listed here, which are the bulk of the changes that are coming with this new version of Therefore Online. First, just some announcements. We wanted to let you know that our end user training, which was released during the summer now of 2024, has been expanded. We've now added a new language, which is Spanish, bringing our total now to 4. So we have English, French, German, and Spanish available for the worldwide community. And as a reminder, this is available for free publicly on the Therefore website. We've also launched a new Therefore training course called the Masterclass, which is available for Therefore e-learners in our e-learning platform, that is for the Canon and partner community. So if you're an advanced e-learner, you've already completed several courses within our e-learning, you can take the Masterclass. Definitely go ahead and check it out. It's available in the catalog, and you can see if you meet the requirements and start taking it. But it is the pinnacle of Therefore e-learning. And finally, on the topic of e-learning, with this version that we're talking about, version 32, we have released refresher training, which is available now on our e-learning platform. As always, when we release a new version of Therefore, we release refresher training, which goes over just the new features in this version. So everything you're going to be learning about today is explained in explicit technical detail within the refresher training. Okay, so the first thing is an aesthetic update, essentially, not a functional update, but basically we are introducing new icons into the installed client. So these would be your applications like the Therefore Navigator, Viewer, Solution Designer, the ones that are installed on your computer. And the icons have been updated to match the latest Microsoft guidelines. We always look towards Microsoft to have our branding match theirs. Be in the same style to be familiar for our customers. So this is what we've done. As you can see, the examples on your screen, nothing has drastically changed. There's not going to be any confusion for our users, but this is just an FYI that once you update, some things will look different. And now just another sort of quick about. So this is a product that up until now has been referred to as the dynamic web viewer. We wanted to let you know that the name is changing. It will no longer be called the dynamic web viewer, but rather just the for our customers to understand which one they're using. Now, if you are an existing user of Therefore, maybe from a couple of years ago, you might be familiar with the classic web client, which is our interface that we had pre about 2020. This continues to be available for legacy customers, for customers who started using it, but it will at some point be discontinued. Not yet. It is still active, so you can still continue using it. So just to be clear, that one is called the Classic Web Client, and The new one, or our current interface, I should say, is just the web client from now on. So speaking of our current web client, which is what you're seeing here, there have been several changes in this version that improve the way it works. I've based these into different, I've put these into different categories for you to make it easier because there's been really a lot of changes that have been made here. So I've grouped these together into case management improvements. So the changes that you're seeing here essentially revolve around things that were possible to do or are possible to do in the installed client as of version 32. They're now possible in the web client as well. And that includes being able to delete a case or create a case ad hoc or move documents to another case. So in case you accidentally you can easily move it. This especially is prone to happen when you have very long lists of cases. It is not at all uncommon to accidentally save it into the wrong case, and you can now move this. Moving on to other changes with the Therefore web client, another category of these is being able to work better with index data. So some of the changes that you see here include being able to use conditional mandatory fields, which is something that, again, worked in and continues to work in the installed client. It now works in the web client as well. Quick summary, conditional mandatory fields is essentially fields that are dependent on something else. So as you can see in the GIF below, what's happening is if you select your contact method as email, the field email address is marked as mandatory, whereas if you select phone, then the field phone number is marked as mandatory. So that's a quick and easy way to get fields, get forms and index data fields to be more responsive. The next one is being able to use macros to fill index data fields automatically. And what this means is that you can set a macro for a field to extract a certain piece of information automatically. For example, the date or the document title or any of that information that's sort of related to the file itself, to the parameters of the file. This is something that has always been supported in the installed client. It will now work for the web client as well. Next, being able to add keyword values on the fly while saving documents. So for all intents and purposes, a keyword field within Therefore is essentially a dropdown with different options. And if you start adding a new option or if you start looking for a keyword that's not in there, if you have the permissions to add new keywords, you will be offered an option to add as new, again, visible on the screenshot here. So all you have to do is start typing. And if it doesn't find a keyword to match that one, it will give you the option to add it as a new one. The next change is also being able to expand tables within the Therefore web client. So tables are what you would usually use when you're working with, for example, invoices, when you have line item fields to deal with rows and columns. It's now much easier to work with them in the web client because you can enlarge and expand it so you can view all the columns at once. So it's much easier to work with those now in the web client. Also, some quick improvements to searching and finding. So one of the ones is you can change the order of files in a document. A Therefore document can be a collection of multiple files, and you can now change the order of these within the Therefore document itself. You can also switch to the next and previous documents while viewing a document so you don't have to exit the viewing interface and go back to the hit list. And finally, the avatar menu. So this is your little profile menu. When you click on your profile icon on the top right, this has now been reworked. You now have different settings here. For example, you can select the default start page, and your options include the dashboard, the repository, workflows and tasks, or the last visited page. You can now auto-claim workflow instances. And what this means is, depending on if you toggle this on or off, workflow instances will be automatically claimed or assigned to you when you're opening them. Most of the time, you'd want this to be on because if you're opening a workflow task, you're very likely to be the one who's processing it. But there may be instances where you're a person who just needs to review a task and you don't want to auto claim it. In that case, you can turn this off. If this is off, you can still claim a workflow task manually. It's just about the auto claiming here. Another simple one, you can set the maximum number of search results that will be returned. Very simple to understand. Just on the page, you do a search, how many hit lists, how many things are returned in your hit list. You can set this on an individual level within your browser. All right. And then the last one is you can customize the language, date, and time formats depending on what you need. You can either use the browser setting, which is how it has worked before version 32, or you can use your own. You can set that individually, customize it whichever way you need. Finally, just a quick reminder. This is not a new feature, but we wanted to remind you about the an excellent existing feature that we have in the web client, which is dashboards. So dashboards are a really efficient and accessible tool for easy reporting in Therefore. They're accessible right here, as you can see on the main web client menu. And they are super easy to work with. You can do lots of different things. They're easy to set up with a drag and drop interface on a grid. You can resize, you can add new, you can change colors, do all of these types of things to see all sorts of reports. But even beyond that, you can also make your dashboard functional. You can add, for example, drop tiles, like what we're looking at here. You can have your workflows listed in here. You can have a search box. So it goes beyond just reporting. It's actually, you can customize it to be your own sort of personal interface for working with Therefore. So highly recommended that you at least check out this feature to see what it can do for you. So this next one is a bit more of a complex thing, but very important. So it's about case and document history within Therefore. So to be clear, this is referring to the Therefore Navigator. So we were talking about the web client until now. Now we're switching to the installed client or the Therefore Navigator. The Therefore Navigator provides a log of events relating to a document, a case, or a workflow instance in chronological order. This has always been the case with the Therefore Navigator, but there are going to be a few changes coming with version 32. So when you're viewing a document, a case, or a workflow instance, the event type that was logged is now immediately available in the history, which is available here, this column here, which is called event. Beyond that, we've added more event types, so you can log additional types of actions. So there are more things now that have been added beyond the basics to help you keep better track of what's been happening with the document. Another thing is that the additional information field, which is this column here, is now automatically populated. For example, to show you how the values of index data fields were changed. Just to give you an example, it shows you the field that was changed and what it used to be in parentheses. So that's a very easy way to track exactly what change was made beyond just saying document index data changed. This shows you exactly what was changed. And now another change to case history. So when you are viewing a case, now it includes individual document events as well as case events. Whereas compared to previously, if you're looking at a history of a case, you were viewing case history as in things that happened at a case level, not at a document level. However, a case, for those of you who are familiar, you may know that a case contains different categories which can have different documents. So you would have needed to go into that individual document history. And we got the feedback from our customers that they would like to see everything that's happening within the case, every single item in there. So now the case history is essentially a big collection, which includes individual document events in any category within that case. And because, of course, we've added more event types and we've changed the way it works, this means that the history is now going to be a lot more detailed and a lot longer. So to make that easier to search for, we have added a filter to the type of event. So just the little drop down you see here, you can filter by the type of event that has happened. So you can say, I only want to view when document index data was changed. So you can filter by that event or anything else. So it makes it overall much easier to work with, and it gives you a lot more traceability while you're working with your documents, cases, and workflows in Therefore. This next one is an enhancement of an existing feature. So an existing feature in Therefore was the ability to share documents in workflows, or excuse me, the ability to share documents in general. This has now been added built into the workflow, so you can automate this. Again, this is something that we heard feedback from our customers about. We love the sharing documents. I would like to automate the process. So the way we've done this is by integrating this sharing process within the send email task. So the send email task is one of the automated tasks you can use while you're building a therefore workflow, while you're building an automated flow. What you see here in the screenshot is we've added options at the bottom here for the setup dialog for this task. There's now sharing options. There are a few that it mostly works the same, but there's something you need to be aware of is the only option when you're sharing like this is that it is public sharing. However, public sharing doesn't mean that just anyone can access the document. Um, the link is shared as a public link. However, you can set a password, and we recommend doing that unless you're sending something that is, let's say, public information. You can set a password. You can include the password in the email automatically. You can generate the password automatically using macros, and you can set a link expiration date as well. You can also choose to share in the original format or as a PDF. So all of these options are available to you, as you can see here in the screenshot, to make sure that you can share this quickly and efficiently as part of an automated workflow, but also make sure that things are locked down and safe, even though you're doing a public type of sharing through email. So since this is a Therefore Online only update, there are some changes that are specific to the Therefore Online environment. The first one is that Therefore Online now supports SFTP, replacing the FTPS protocol. FTPS will remain available in compatibility mode. Just to be clear, this is only relevant if you're using the Therefore Content Connector. Again, if you're using FTPS, you don't need to worry, it's not going to stop working. We do recommend you make the transition to SFTP, but it will remain available in compatibility mode. And again, we recommend switching over to SFTP because Therefore Online now supports it. We're also giving customers more control over the file types that can be whitelisted or blacklisted on their own tenant. So there is in the very advanced options. So unless you're unless you're an administrator, this doesn't really affect you. But there is a list of blocked extensions here within again, buried deep in the options of the solution designer. We're giving you some more flexibility in terms of letting you determine some types of files that you may want to allow. Of course, since this is a hosted environment, we do need to retain security. We, as the operator of the Therefore Online environment, we need to maintain a secure environment. That means that some file types are automatically blacklisted. They cannot be whitelisted and they cannot be removed from the blacklist for security purposes. If you try this, an error will be shown. So rest assured, you can't make a mistake that will compromise the security of your system at that level. It will be blocked by the Therefore system. Finally, some other smaller changes. Within the solution designer, if you're an admin, you can now search for a specific user in the user list. So rejoice, those of you who manage many users within the system, no longer scrolling through that whole list. You have a little search bar. You can now start typing the name and it'll find it for you. There's also been a new advanced setting added called the time zone setting that allows the administrators to set a specific time zone for the tenant. And essentially, this has replaced the client time difference setting, which was the way it was done before, where it was calculated the difference in the time zone of the clients compared to the time zone of the server. That is no longer the case. Now you can say our tenant operates in this time zone period, much easier to handle. Another small one is when you're converting signed PDFs within Therefore. So you can do this as part of a workflow process or even manually. But if you start off with the signed PDF and you convert it, it loses the signed aspect of it, of course, because it's been converted. So not only is the sort of digital wrapper around it lost, what used to happen is also the digital or the visual representation of the signature was removed. Whereas now the visual representation of the signature will now be preserved. So a bit of a niche case, but if you're working with signed PDFs, this will be useful for you. There are a few smaller sort of details that are available in the version 32 release notes that we don't have time for today. So definitely Check out those release notes. They are online now as part of the Therefore Online help to get the full details. One final thing we wanted to mention, this is not a scenario that will affect most people, but we have a duty to mention that it's something that's happening. Therefore, Online version 32 is bringing in upgrade to 64-bit clients, installed clients. If you're using only the web client, this doesn't affect you at all. With a standard configuration of Therefore, you won't even notice a change after the update. There shouldn't be any action necessary. However, there are some scenarios that are affected by this upgrade. This would generally only be the case if you are using some sort of custom integration, or if you're using the API, that you may need to change a few details because of the upgrade from 32-bit to 64-bit. So if any of this rings a bell, you need to check the breaking changes section in the version 32 release notes for more details. We've mapped out the scenarios that we think are most likely to happen. There are a few. I believe there's something like 7 scenarios that we believe could be affected by this upgrade. Again, rather niche use cases, certainly not affecting your average user, but definitely check that out if that's something that you think you might be affected by. And of course, let us know. Contact the Therefore support team or the Canon support team for help with this, because it's definitely doable, and we can help you bridge the gap there. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the session today. As usual, we are happy if you'd like to stay in touch. We hope you will. There's our resources here available on the screen, our website, YouTube channel, mailing list. These are all great sources of information, but none better than, I would say, our LinkedIn page, because we post practically everything on there, and it's super easy to follow us and super easy to get updated. Basically, if you follow us on LinkedIn, you won't miss anything. You'll know everything that's going on in the world of Therefore. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. We appreciate you guys taking the time. We hope you enjoyed the new version, and have a great rest of your day. And we hope to see you on our next webinar. Thank you so much.